Have you ever felt like you were dating someone, but something just didn't feel right? Like you were talking, listening, sharing, but deep down you knew you were going nowhere? What if I told you that Marcus Aurelius, a Roman emperor and Stoic philosopher from over 1800 years ago, left us clues on how to recognize people, yes, even women who can destroy your peace, your values, and your purpose? In today's video, we're diving into 6 signs of a stupid woman, not in a condescending way, but from a Stoic lens, where intelligence isn't about books or beauty, but about wisdom, character, and self-mastery. But before we begin, subscribe to the channel and like this video. It helps the message of Stoicism reach more people like you. And watch this video to the very end, because what we're going to uncover may just transform the way you approach love and relationships and forever. Let me take you back to Rome, the year 170 AD. Marcus Aurelius sat quietly on a stone bench in the courtyard of his palace. The weight of an empire rested on his shoulders, but in that moment, his mind was not on war or politics, it was on a letter, a personal one, written by his mentor, the great philosopher Rusticus. In it, Rusticus reminded him of one thing: avoid those who drain your virtue. That line stayed with Marcus, because even emperors, powerful as they are, can be destroyed by the wrong relationships. Now fast forward to today. You don't have to be an emperor to feel what Marcus felt. You might be a guy trying to build a business, focus on self-mastery, or simply live a life of peace. And yet, you find yourself entangled with someone who argues constantly, disrespects your path, and brings more chaos than calm. Today, let's explore 6 signs of a stupid woman through the eyes of Stoic wisdom. This is not about judgment, it's about recognition. Because once you see clearly, you can protect your energy, your values, and your future. Once she mistakes emotion for truth. Have you ever been in love so deep that it made you forget logic? Like, really think back, remember that one woman who made your heart race, who pulled you in like gravity, the one you thought could be the one. At first, everything felt magical. The laughs were real, the nights were long, and the connection intoxicating. But then something changed. You said something small, something innocent, and suddenly she got offended. Her mood shifted. Her eyes turned cold, and you sat there wondering, what just happened? Now here's the truth. A woman who mistakes emotion for truth will make you question reality. You'll say, I didn't mean it like that. She'll reply, well, it felt like you did. And in her world, how she feels becomes the final verdict. You might apologize, explain yourself, replay the whole moment in your mind. But nothing works because it was never about the truth. It was about how she felt in that moment. And those feelings, no matter how irrational, become her reality. Marcus Aurelius, wise as ever, once wrote, "You always own the option of having no opinion. There's never any need to get worked up." But a woman who's emotionally reactive doesn't give herself that option. She's quick to anger, fast to cry, and slow to understand. And before you know it, you're no longer building love, you're tiptoeing around landmines. Let me bring it home with a story. A friend of mine, we'll call him Leo, met a girl named Alia. She was stunning, funny, full of energy. At first, it was like a fairy tale. But 3 months in, things started to crack. One night, Leo was on the phone with his mom, talking about his career struggles. Alia overheard just one line, "I feel like I don't have enough support lately." That was it. She stormed in. "Are you saying I'm not supportive? I give you everything." He tried to explain it wasn't about her, that it was a bigger feeling about life and pressure and family. But she wasn't listening. She felt attacked, so the truth didn't matter. That night turned into a week of silence. A week turned into more arguments. Leo went from being in love to walking on eggshells. Now ask yourself, does this sound familiar? Because if you've ever been in a relationship where feelings always override facts, then you already know it's exhausting. It wears down your confidence. It kills communication. And eventually, it kills the connection. Stoicism teaches us to separate emotion from judgment. But a stupid woman lacking in emotional wisdom does the opposite. She makes every feeling a weapon. And if you don't see it for what it is, you'll be stuck in a cycle of confusion, guilt, and emotional chaos. So now I ask you, not as a philosopher but as a brother, have you ever loved someone who made you feel like the villain, just because they couldn't control their emotions? If so, you're not alone, and you're not crazy. You're just waking up to a truth Marcus Aurelius saw centuries ago. To it, she disrespects time. Have you ever loved someone who treated your time like it didn't matter? Like no matter how much effort you put in, how much you planned, worked, or waited, she just couldn't see the value in it. If you're nodding your head right now, I know how that feels, because I've been there too. Let me take you back to a moment in my life I don't talk about often. Her name was Sarah. She was beautiful in that chaotic wild spirit kind of way, the kind of girl who made you feel alive just by being around her. Her laugh was addictive. Her smile could stop traffic, and when we were together, the world felt like it paused for us. At first I didn't notice the signs, or maybe I did, but I didn't want to. She was always late, but I brushed it off. She'd cancel plans last minute. I made excuses. She'd say, let's just chill today. On the very day I had something important to work on, and I gave in. Because when you're in love, you make sacrifices, right? But over time, those small sacrifices added up. I was missing deadlines, falling behind on my goals, losing momentum. I started feeling guilty for even wanting time for myself. Marcus Aurelius once said, "Do not act as if you were going to live 10,000 years. Death hangs over you." To a Stoic, time is the most sacred resource. You can lose money and earn it back. You can lose a friend and meet a new one. But time, once it's gone, it's gone. And that's what a stupid woman never understands. She'll waste her time in gossip, scrolling, drama, distractions. And worst of all, she'll waste yours. Not because she's evil, but because she's unaware. Sarah didn't understand that every hour I gave her was an hour I could have used building something meaningful, something lasting, something us. But in her world, time was limitless. She believed there would always be tomorrow. I believed that too, until I looked back and realized I had sacrificed months of progress for a relationship that wasn't going anywhere. Now I want you to pause and reflect. Has there been a woman in your life who treated your time like it was disposable? Who expected you to drop everything for her, but never made time for the things that mattered to you? If so, understand this. A wise woman sees time as a currency. She respects it, hers and yours. A stupid woman spends it like it's fake money. The Stoic man doesn't live on autopilot. He chooses how and with whom to spend his hours. So before you give another second to someone who disrespects your time, ask yourself this: what could you have built by now? If you weren't always cleaning up someone else's mess, calming someone else's storm, or waiting for someone else to show up. Think about it. First, she's a slave to the crowd. Have you ever loved someone who always needed a second opinion about everything? Not because she was unsure, but because she needed the crowd's approval to feel secure. Maybe you were out with her, just the two of you, and things felt perfect until her phone buzzed. Suddenly her mood changed. She read a message from a friend and started comparing, questioning, overthinking. It's wild, right? How one comment from a friend, one Instagram post, one TikTok trend could suddenly make her doubt everything she was happy about just 5 minutes ago. Let me tell you a story. Her name was Alina. When we first started dating, it was like something out of a dream. She was funny, thoughtful, had a creative spark. We'd stay up late talking about the stars, philosophy, music. It felt deep, real, rare. But then I started noticing something. Before she bought anything, she had to check what her favorite influencer recommended. Before we posted a picture, she had to run it through her friends first. Before she made even a small decision, she had to ask, "What do you think everyone will say?" At first, I thought she just liked being social. But over time, I realized she wasn't living her life. She was living for everyone else's applause. And slowly, we weren't building a relationship. We were performing one. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "The opinion of 10,000 men is of no value if none of them know anything about the subject." That's the heart of Stoicism. Truth isn't found in popularity, it's found in principle. But a foolish woman, a woman who lacks wisdom, chases validation like a drug. She's a slave to trends, a puppet to public opinion, and when the crowd shifts, so does she. Here's the danger. When you're with a woman like that, you're never really with her. You're with the voice of her friends, her followers, her favorite influencer. And if the crowd ever turns on you, so will she. You want a woman who stands firm in private as she does in public. But the crowd pleaser? She changes her values to fit the room. Now pause for a second and ask yourself, have you ever been in love with someone who wasn't really her own person? Who needed outside validation to feel inside peace? Because that kind of woman can't give you stability. She can't be loyal to a future. When she's obsessed with appearances in the present, a Stoic man doesn't follow the herd, and he doesn't date someone who does. You need a woman with depth, not just popularity. With principles, not just followers. With a backbone, not just opinions borrowed from others. Alina, she eventually left. Not because of a fight, but because one of her friends said, "I was too intense." That was all it took. Looking back now, I thank her. Because that experience taught me, the woman who chases the crowd will never stop running, and you'll never stop chasing her, for she uses her beauty as power. Have you ever fallen for someone just because she was beautiful? Not kinda cute. I mean stunning. The kind of beauty that made you lose your words mid-sentence. The kind of woman that made other men stare, and you feel lucky just to be beside her. Yeah, I remember mine. Her name was Nora. When I first met her, it felt like time slowed down. You know that scene in every romantic movie, where the guy looks across the room, and everything else fades. That was us, or at least I thought it was. She was elegance in motion. The way she walked, the way she smiled, it pulled people in, and I was no exception. We went on late-night drives, laughed in candlelit cafes, held hands like we were the only two people in the world. But slowly the curtain started to lift. It began with little things. She'd flirt with the waiter just enough to get a discount, post suggestive photos online and wait for comments, refuse to apologize after an argument, then flash that seductive smile like it erased everything. It hit me one day when we had a real disagreement, something that needed emotional maturity. Instead of talking it through, she pouted, crossed her arms, and said, "You'll forgive me. You always do." And that's when I realized she wasn't used to being held accountable, only being admired. Marcus Aurelius warned us about this when he wrote, "Do not be distracted by the appearance of things. Keep your eyes on what cannot be taken from you." But beauty? That fades. Character? That stays. A stupid woman wields beauty like a weapon, manipulating situations, avoiding responsibility, seducing her way through conflict. She knows what her looks can get her, and she uses it. Now don't get me wrong, there's nothing wrong with beauty, but there's something deeply wrong with using it to gain control, dodge truth, or mask immaturity. And that's exactly what Nora did. Every time she made a mistake, she'd lean in close, touch my arm, give that irresistible look, and somehow I forgot what we were even fighting about. But beauty without depth is just distraction. It doesn't build love. It builds illusions. And one day I woke up and realized I didn't love Nora. I loved the idea of her. The image. The dream. But behind the perfect makeup, the curated photos, the flawless smile, there was someone unwilling to grow. Now I want to ask you something. Have you ever stayed in something too long, just because she was beautiful? Ignored the red flags because the attraction was so strong? If so, you're not alone. You're human. But a Stoic man learns to look past the surface. He values wisdom over waistlines, substance over selfies, depth over desire, because beauty might catch the eye, but only character keeps the heart. And the woman who uses her looks as a crutch, she'll never learn to walk in truth. She creates drama where there is none. Have you ever loved a woman who turned peace into chaos? Where one moment you were laughing together, and the next, you were defending yourself against something you never even did? Let me take you back to my story. Her name was Rhea. She had this fire in her, a wildness that was magnetic. The kind of woman who could light up a room but could also burn it down just as fast. Our beginning was electric. I'd never felt that kind of passion before. It was unpredictable, exciting. It felt alive. But soon I realized it wasn't passion. It was instability. One time I was 5 minutes late to dinner because of traffic. She didn't ask what happened. She didn't say, "I'm glad you're here." Instead, she slammed her glass on the table and hissed, "If you respected me, you wouldn't be late." I apologized. I explained. But it didn't matter. She didn't want peace. She wanted a fight. And it didn't stop there. One day I laughed at a joke a female coworker made in a group chat. That night, Rhea gave me the silent treatment for hours. When I finally asked why, she whispered, "I saw how you smiled at her." I wish I were making this up. Marcus Aurelius once said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." But Rhea didn't believe in that power. She believed in reacting, exploding, assuming the worst. And the worst part? At first I thought I was the problem. That if I just explained better, loved her harder, stayed quieter, she'd finally feel safe. But the truth is, you cannot calm a storm that lives off chaos. Drama became her oxygen. She needed the highs and lows, the accusations and apologies, the emotional roller coaster, because stillness made her uncomfortable. You see, a stupid woman craves drama because it gives her a sense of control. She doesn't know how to sit in silence, how to build with trust, how to love with steadiness. And if you've ever loved someone like that, I know you carry the weight of it. So let me ask you this. Have you ever walked on eggshells around someone you loved, just to avoid another meltdown? Lied to protect peace? Changed yourself to keep her calm? Because that's not love, brother. That's survival. And no man was born to survive love. You were born to lead, to build, to live in truth, not to constantly defend yourself in someone else's made-up courtroom. The Stoic man doesn't chase chaos. He creates calm. And any woman who thrives in emotional war zones is not your partner. She's your distraction. Rhea eventually left. Not because I failed her, but because she couldn't live in peace, even when I gave her all of mine. So ask yourself, are you in love with someone who creates storms, just to feel the thrill of being rescued? Because that's not love, that's addiction. She hates accountability, loves blame. Have you ever been in love with someone who could never say the words, I was wrong? Someone who made mistakes, but somehow they always ended up being your fault? If your chest feels heavy right now, it's because you've lived that story too. Let me tell you mine. Her name was Maya. Maya was magnetic, confident, the kind of woman who owned every room she walked into. People admired her strength. I did too. But what I didn't realize until much later was that beneath that strength was an inability to take responsibility for anything. When things went well, she took the credit. When things fell apart, she pointed the finger. One time she forgot my birthday. No card, no dinner, nothing. I was hurt, but I didn't attack her. I just told her how I felt. Her response? Well, maybe if you were more emotionally expressive, I'd have remembered. Wait, what? Somehow my birthday became my fault. And that was just the beginning. She'd snap at me in public and later say, you made me act like that. She'd overspend on our joint account and then say, well, if you made more money, I wouldn't have to. Sound familiar? Marcus Aurelius said, you must blame yourself, or no one. The Stoic path is built on radical responsibility. But Maya, she lived in a world of blame. She wore it like armor. And any time life hit her with a consequence, she found a way to throw the damage at someone else, usually me. And here's what made it so dangerous. She was so convincing, so articulate, so emotionally manipulative, that I started believing it. I started second-guessing myself, apologizing when I didn't do anything wrong, carrying the weight of problems I didn't create. That's the power of a woman who refuses accountability. She doesn't just avoid growth, she makes you shrink. Now let me ask you something real. Have you ever stayed up at night wondering if maybe you were the toxic one, just because she always flipped the script on you? Because if you have, I see you. I've been there. And I know how confusing it gets when love is mixed with guilt. But the truth is this: love without accountability is just emotional blackmail. A wise woman owns her actions. A foolish one runs from them and pushes the blame into your chest like a dagger wrapped in affection. Eventually, I left Maya, not because I stopped loving her, but because I finally started loving myself more than I feared her blame. And if you're in a situation where you're always wrong, always apologizing, always trying to prove you're good enough, even when you've done nothing wrong, that's not love. That's emotional warfare. The Stoic man doesn't beg to be understood. He stands in truth and expects the same in return. So I'll leave you with this. The woman who runs from accountability will never walk toward growth. And if you stay too long, you'll stop growing too. When Marcus Aurelius finished reading that letter from Rusticus, he folded it slowly and whispered to himself, avoid those who drain your virtue. He wasn't being cruel. He was being clear. And today you must be clear too. The wrong woman doesn't just hurt your feelings. She corrupts your focus. She confuses your values. She clouds your direction. But the Stoic man, he chooses peace over passion, discipline over drama, and wisdom over beauty. You don't need someone perfect. You need someone present. You need someone whose mind is as calm as yours is becoming. Someone who sharpens you, not someone who stabs you. Sharp ending. If any of these signs reminded you of someone in your life, take it seriously. The price of tolerating foolishness is your future. Remember, it's not your job to fix her. It's your job to protect your path. With that said, thanks for watching, and until next time.